Hello, everybody. My name is Tyler Russo, and this is the KO Podcast, episode number 45. In this episode, I will be reviewing Invicta FC 54. That was a great event to attend. I will get into more details on that later in the show. And of course, we had a huge boxing matchup. We had Tyson Fury versus Francis Ngannou. What a spectacle that event was. And of course, this upcoming weekend, the UFC is back with UFC Fight Night Almeida versus Lewis. Let's get into the show. Ring that bell. Alright, let's get into this UFC Fight Night card. This card takes place in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Happy to see that they are back in Brazil for a UFC Fight Night. Right off the bat, we got a interesting matchup right here. We got Mark Jacasey taking on Quay Fernandez, I believe that's how you say his name. And Mark Jacasey is in need of a win. He is currently on a losing streak of 2 in a row. Before that, he was on a winning streak, but now it has flipped on him very quickly. Moving on, we have a women's strawweight bout. We have number 12 ranked Angela Hill taking on Denise Gomez. Gomez is coming off of a spectacular knockout, so now she gets a step up in competition, and she could be numbered if she gets the victory. Moving on, we have a bantamweight bout. We have Victor Hugo taking on Daniel Marcos, and we have a welterweight bout. I'm going to butcher his name very badly, so please forgive me in advance. But number 15th ranked Ranat Fakhandorov, I believe that's how you say his name, is taking on Dos Santos. This should be a good fight. I really apologize. I butchered his name. But this welterweight matchup between these two men is going to be a very good fight. And now let's move on to the main card. We have a lightweight bout. We have Ishmael Bonfim taking on Vince Pichel. This should be a fun lightweight matchup. And moving on, we got a middleweight bout. We have Rafaldo Vera taking on Armin Petrosky. And we have a middleweight bout. We have Caio Bahario taking on Abbas Magomedov. Obviously, many of us know Magomedov from his last fight where he lost by TKO to now new middleweight champion Sean Strickland. And of course, Bahario has been on the rise for quite some time in this middleweight division. Next up, we have a heavyweight bout. We have number 15th ranked Rodrigo Nascimento. He takes on Dontel Mays. And in the co-main event, we have a welterweight bout. We have Gabriel Bonfim. He takes on Nicholas Dalby. So both of the Bonfim brothers are on this main card. Let's see if they can both win their fights. Now, moving on to the main event, we have a heavyweight bout. We have number 9 ranked Jailton Almeida. He takes on the number 10 ranked heavyweight Derek Lewis. This is a pretty good matchup for Almeida. Obviously, Lewis has a lot of power. He is the knockout king in the UFC. But let's shift our focus back to Jailton Almeida. He is a really elite grappler. He's got great jiu-jitsu and he has very good striking, and he's fought at heavyweight and he's fought at light heavyweight. He's won in both of those divisions, so he's probably gonna be come in at a much lighter weight than Derek Lewis, who is a natural heavyweight. And as I said before, with Derek Lewis, he always has a puncher's chance. He has insane power. I mean, he could catch Almeida at any moment with a nasty uppercut. If Almeida is not careful in the clinch, he's going to get hit with some bombs from Lewis that could put him out. Derek Lewis is, again, such a powerful guy. I just feel like Jailton Almeida's grappling is going to be too much of a problem for Derek Lewis. So I'm going to take Jailton Almeida with a first round submission. So let's see if I am right, or is Derek Lewis going to get another knockout victory? Now let's talk about Invicta FC. Invicta FC 54 took place in Boston on October 27th, and I happened to have the pleasure to be there in person. Invicta FC was kind enough to provide me with a media pass to the event, and I just want to thank Invicta FC again for their hospitality, for everything that they do. The production was on point. The venue really fit Invicta FC. I hope that they come back to House of Blues. Again, great venue, great fights. Now let's get into the results from this event. I'm going to start with the main event and work my way down on this card. So in the main event, Danny McCormick defeated Karolina Wojcik by rear naked choke in the 4th round. McCormick retains her strawweight title, and she put Wojcik to sleep. Such a slick rear naked choke submission, and after her victory, she called on Mick Maynard and the UFC to give her shot. I believe she deserves it. I mean, that was, again, a very nasty rear naked choke. She now improves to 8-2 as her mixed martial arts record, and I hope nothing but the best for McCormick. Again, what a great performance by her. Moving on, we had Christina Williams defeating Dee Begley by split decision, and we had Andrea Armaro. She defeated the hometown Hillary Rose by submission by rear naked choke. That was a 1st round submission. And we had Riley Martinez defeating Julia Dorney by rear naked choke. And going to the first fight of the night, we had Maria Dojovic defeating Fernanda Araujo by unanimous decision. And unfortunately, there was a planned strawweight bout between Velisa Machado and Khalidra Farah, but unfortunately that was removed from the card due to illness by one of those fighters. So overall, I mean, these fights were very entertaining. A lot of finishes, as you might have got by me reading the results. A lot of rear naked chokes. Invicta FC just keeps paving the way for women's mixed martial arts. Again, they put on a great show out the House of Blues. Invicta FC, if you're listening, I am pleading for you to come back next year or even sooner to Boston. The crowd there was amazing. Boston loves its MMA. UFC was here just a couple of months ago, and now Invicta made their East Coast debut. So again, Invicta, thank you for inviting me to your event. And now let's talk about the spectacle that was Tyson Fury versus Francis Ngannou. I mean, it was a journey just to get to the main event. They had a whole musical performance on a stage that was above the ring. And then the ring rose at the end of the performance. Crazy. It was crazy. Crazy spectacle. Obviously, that's what they wanted. Both Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou were in king attire with crowns and sitting on thrones, and I mean, it was pretty awesome to look at. The performance was crazy before, and again, just to get to the main event was a journey, and it had a lot of interesting parts. I would say, like after a while, I just kind of wanted to see the main event. I wasn't really too fascinated with watching a musical performance. I just wanted to see these two men throw down, and once they actually got in the ring, insane fight. Francis Ngannou drops Tyson Fury, and I don't think anybody expected that in the slightest. I definitely was not expecting Francis Ngannou to do that to Tyson Fury. I mean, Francis Ngannou obviously had a puncher's chance going into the fight because of how powerful he is, but Francis looked poised. He looked like he was calm. He looked like he knew what he was doing, and I think that really comes down to his coaches in his corner. Eric Nixick is such a big part of Francis Ngannou's development, and Dewey Cooper was in the corner with Ngannou as well. Both of those guys do such a great job with Ngannou, and Ngannou is not going to be done with boxing, I do not think, because he put on one hell of a performance for a boxing debut against arguably the greatest heavyweight boxer of all time, the current champion. Obviously, it was not for any of the belts. They made a special belt for this occasion, but yeah, Francis Ngannou did not fumble the bag. He decided to pave his own way, and although on paper it says he lost a split decision, he definitely won in the end. He proved to everybody that he could box and that he could compete with Tyson and arguably beat Tyson. And also, Francis Ngannou had Mike Tyson in his corner, so again, he had a really good coaching group around him for this training camp. Tyson Fury, I don't know, maybe he must have not taken Francis Ngannou very seriously. Seemed like he was maybe treating this like a glorified sparring session of sorts. Obviously, Tyson Fury got paid millions and tens of millions of dollars to fight, and now it seems that Tyson Fury is going to fight Usyk, which seems to be his last challenge in his heavyweight career. If he gets past Usyk, maybe he fights Ngannou for the second time and then retires, but Tyson Fury is definitely only a couple fights away from hanging it up, in my opinion. It seems like it. He's made so much money. He has nothing else to prove. Once he takes on Usyk, there's not going to be much else for him to fight for. So Francis Ngannou, congratulations. The PFL, they definitely made out pretty well in this. They let Francis Ngannou do the boxing side of combat sports, and now hopefully we can get Francis Ngannou in the PFL. The only problem is, who is he going to face? They don't really seem to have any opponents that get anybody excited, but maybe they can find somebody lurking in the shadows of free agency. Maybe they can co-promote with the UFC, even though I don't think the UFC would want to do that, but the PFL has always been open to co-promoting, so maybe one day we will get that John Jones and Francis Ngannou matchup that we have all been drooling over. Maybe in the future they will co-promote and make that dream fight a reality. And that is going to do it for this episode of the KO Podcast. To stay up to date with the podcast, I have a link tree in my bio on all of my social media accounts. Go and check out the link tree. Subscribe to all of the social media accounts to help out the podcast. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen. Stay safe. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.